It's that time each May where we celebrate the might and majesty of the UEE vehicle fleet, and this week we're exploring the gold standard work of one of the rarest vehicles in the game, the debut of a new design sure to set the verse on fire, and a long-requested variant finally making its debut at this year's event. It's Invictus Launch Week Part 1, so let's stop yapping and get to showing. I'll be here when you get back.
So the Sabre Raven was introduced at CitizenCon 2017 in Frankfurt. It was an exclusive deal with Intel. It is a EMP interdictor fighter, carries 2 EMP generators in its belly, it has an additional computer on board for helping do data running, and is really just a cool looking ship. You can see the resemblance to the Sabre, but it is its own unique shape. Performance-wise, over the years, because of its exclusive nature, it's sort of never really peaked in terms of popularity, but the owners that have it love it, and you always see them at ship meets in the game. Recently, we completed Gold Standard on the base Sabre, which highlighted some of the issues with the Raven itself. It has sort of been left behind in terms of art and gameplay upgrades over the years. So we set about Gold Standing the Raven and utilising some of the work we did on the Sabre to help benefit the Raven.
So we've recently done a pass on the Sabre Raven. It gets referenced a lot as gold standard. What I think for me personally, the way I look at it is kind of our current standard. It's bringing a ship that we've done work on in the past and kind of ticking off all the current kind of features to make it compatible with everything we now do on our current release ships. The main pass that we needed to do on the Raven was to add all of its functional component bays. So now, rather than it just being a shell, and you can't really do much with it, each of the component bays now have a animating opening door. All of the components are accessible by the player, and that really just gets the vehicle ready for the next stage in Star Citizen gameplay. With the resource network work coming online and the ability to interact with the individual ship items, that ship is now kind of ticked off, ready, good to go. Some of the other work that was needed as a kind of byproduct of bringing it up to current day standards is working on the dashboard and the interactions on there. So now the buttons are all interactive, and really it's just about giving some love to some of our older vehicles and bringing them up to kind of our current day standard.
So at this Invictus, we're happy to announce that there is a new sibling to the Raven, and it's called the Sabre Firebird. So the Sabre Firebird is a missile-based fighter, much like some of our other ships like the Talon. It trades pure gun power for missile firepower. It is based on the Raven chassis, but it has quite a few little visual tweaks that when you put them side by side, you'll notice that it is a completely different art style. And its main firepower is from its belly-mounted bespoke missile launcher, which holds 12 size 3 missiles.
So in the Sabre series, we have the base Sabre, the Sabre Comet, and the Sabre Raven. And really, we wanted to kind of build on the Raven's chassis. It's a very unique design, and we really felt like we could do more than what we've currently done with that vehicle chassis. Obviously, we wanted to make sure that it feels different enough from the base Raven. So we did quite a lot of work. The actual full kind of top of the vehicle has pretty much been kind of remodeled. The main spine of the vehicle has a bunch of changes on it. When we looked at it and kind of decided what is really successful and what we want to build on, we really felt like the Raven is very, very sleek, whereas the base Sabre had these really nice kind of like tail fins and a nice kind of back end to it. So really we kind of want to bring a bit of that inspiration back into the Firebird. So the main kind of visual change that you'll notice on the rear of the vehicle, it's got a slightly new thruster, and it's got these nice sort of wings that complement the rear tail end. A lot of kind of more subtle changes have been done on the vehicle as well. When you kind of first look at them side by side, we really wanted it to be recognizable that it was built on the Sabre chassis. So we've kept a lot of the key shapes, but as you start to kind of like get into the details, you'll notice the wingtips are different. The kind of big cutouts have had some work done to them. And we decided to add some extra geometry there just to kind of strengthen up the vehicle a bit as it is. I think the base Raven, being like an interdiction ship, really it was kind of focusing on agility and being able to chase down targets, whereas this being slightly more kind of combat orientated, we really wanted a bit more strength in the vehicle as a whole. As you kind of go to the underside of the ship, that's where the big functionality change comes. So now in the belly of the ship, we've got a big missile rack, so it all opens up and then we can launch the missiles out from underneath the Firebird.
Compared to a lot of our other ships that have missile racks just bolted under the wings, or bespoke ones mounted into the hull that are sort of firing forwards, this is canted at a downwards angle, so you get a really nice visual when they fire down and curve up. And also we've adjusted the missile controller on it, so rather than being restricted to a set amount, it can fire up to a complete row at a time. So you get to see a huge volley of row by row come out. So we have a lot of fighters in the game, but we don't have a lot that their main focus is missiles. I could mention that the Talon Shrike is pretty much the main missile-based fighter that is a light to medium category. So this adds another option into the mix. And it also builds on all the work we did for the Sabre Raven Gold standard to help get a brand new ship. In terms of who is the Firebird for, just like anyone who enjoys combat, this is a ship for you, especially if you prefer to sort of not engage direct in dogfights and sort of lurk on the periphery of combat and help chip away at the targets. So that's the Sabre Firebird, available at Invictus. We're looking forward to see the reception of it and letting a new generation of backers experience that classic silhouette with a revitalized in-game performance.
Did you consider doing a Pontiac Trans Am Firebird paint for this?
When we came up with the name of the Firebird, we did instantly think of some vehicle inspirations, should we call it? But no.
Smokey and the Bandit.
No, Smokey and the Bandit.
I hate you.
Mutual.
So in the top 3 questions that I get, number 1 and 2 are when and where are the Bounty Merchantman and Endeavour? The third one is where is my Ursa medical version? So we're finally proud to present the RSI Ursa Medivac.
Yeah, because that's the one they really wanted you to focus on.
So where are we going to use the Medivac? It is designed for use in a sort of combined arms ground assault scenario.
When you kind of think about all the different gameplay loops we have and all the different ways that our players like to explore the universe, we have a lot of air support. We have the Pisces, we have med bays in our big ships, but we don't really have anything that's ground vehicle based that can kind of be that response unit to really kind of get people out of trouble, to come in and heal our players.
You have people on the ground, in vehicles, in grav-led bikes, on foot, assaulting a location such as a distribution centre. Ultimately, people get injured and killed, and they don't want to respawn back at their hubs or at hospitals, or even in sort of a parent mothership a long way away. You need something that can keep up with the assault, and that's where the Medivac sits.
It fills that gap in our lineup that allows the players to be able to go out, explore our universe, and have less concerns about some of the activities they're getting up to, knowing that they've got a medical vehicle on call nearby that can kind of get them out of a bit of a sticky situation. Exterior-wise, the main kind of big difference is going to be the delivery.
So the Medivac will come with its own medical-themed default paint, as well as additional paints, and these will be applicable to the base Ursa as well.
Other than that, the kind of main changes that we've done is just really giving it a bit of a lift up to our current standards. So we've got proper interaction panels now for the side entrance and the rear entrance. And then the biggest change really is on the rear of the vehicle. The ramp or the rear door previously split in the middle and opened up, but that doesn't really make sense when you think of a medical vehicle. You want to be able to ease the transition in as easy as possible. So it's got a proper kind of rear ramp on it now. The door folds down and just allows much easier access into the rear of the vehicle. Inside, it's all new. It feels very clean and clinical. Our artist that works on it, Hadi, he's done like a fantastic job of really bringing up the level of detail, making it really feel like a purpose-built space. On the left-hand side, you've got a weapons locker that also has storage for your med guns and your utility items. We've then got a clean sink area. It feels very clinical and clean. And then as you move towards the front of the vehicle, you've got an extra seat. Looking at kind of current ambulances and medical vehicles, you generally have your patient and then somewhere for the person that is kind of doing that treatment to be. We've got the medical terminal, where it allows you to treat the player or the patient. And then right at the front, we've got all the component bays and everything else that's needed for making the vehicle work.
So the big feature of the RSA Ursa Medivac is, of course, the medbed in the back. It is a tier 3 medbed, and the way medbeds work in the game is changing. Tier 3 historically did not allow respawn on them. We're changing that to allow respawn, but at a much reduced distance from the vehicle. So you really need to keep this vehicle up with the attack to get the maximum use out of it.
We took a lot of inspiration from some of our other kind of med bays on our other vehicles, and generally, we just try to think about if you're trying to treat someone that's been injured, what do you need, what's available for you. Obviously, we looked at ambulances and real-life inspiration.
That change is not exclusive to the Medivac. That is an across-the-board change, so ships such as the C8R Pisces and Cutlass Red will also benefit from that. But of course, those are much larger targets in a combat scenario, so you would want to keep them a little bit further away. So that's the Ursa Medivac. It is a great support vehicle for ground vehicle players, and especially those who want to support other more hostile engagements. And I didn't mean to imply that we picked this over doing the Merchantman or the Endeavour, but a lot of people ask me this. Every single event in Reddit, Spectrum, so where's the Medivac? So, it's here now.
Launch sequence complete.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that the Sabre Raven finally gets a little of the love and attention it's needed for some time. That the Sabre Firebird is here with a host of missile-laden destruction alongside with it. And that the Ursa Medivac is rolling up with a fantastic change to how medbeds work and new liveries for all Ursas to enjoy. Now, don't forget to tune into this year's Invictus All Vehicles Roundtable tomorrow, where we'll have some of the folks that make ships possible on to discuss all aspects of vehicle life in the verse, and then come on back next week for Invictus Part 2 for even more new vehicle goodness. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week.